cool. Dr. Bradley Freeman, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning, McGraw.
All right, you've been on the show now a long time, and you've brought some interesting things to the table. This
takes the cake.
This one just might take the cake. Are you saying that Neanderthals became extinct because of herpes?
So this story probably has no practical medical implication to many of your listeners, but I think it is an interesting story nonetheless. And so, as you and I have talked in the past, Neanderthals several thousand years ago resided in what is now Europe, and in fact, we have Neanderthal DNA in our own genes. So it's clear that as our ancestors migrated out of what is currently Africa, they mated with Neanderthals, and then here we are. So it's always been curious as to why our ancestors drove the Neanderthals to extinction. And so this is kind of the result of some very sophisticated analysis by very bright scientists, and they looked at fossilized remains of Neanderthals and identified that probably one of the culprits is that as our ancestors intermixed with these Neanderthals, we infected them with the herpes virus. And as one might expect, this was a new disease for many of these individuals, and ultimately probably resulted in their death. So it's a somewhat of an example of when two populations mix and one has a new disease, the other one is not immune to it, and it really wreaks havoc. And that's something we've seen play out time and time again in history. More recently, when Europeans came to North America, they infected the Native Americans with diseases they hadn't seen in the past and quickly decimated the population. And so, again, it's a somewhat of an interesting story, but really shows how you would think, say, a minor disease, and certainly something today which is generally a nuisance to people, really profoundly affected the course of civilization.
Okay, so that's how the Neanderthals got herpes, but how did the first people get the herpes?
It's unknown. So that dates back to thousands and thousands of years, and it's felt that the first people got herpes probably from, in some fashion, from a non-human, some type of non-human animal. However that happened, whether that was through eating or other means,
right.
It's unclear how the jump made from animals to humans with respect to getting herpes, but clearly happened a long time ago, somewhere in the continent of Africa.
So listen to your health teacher. Herpes is forever.
Yeah, herpes is forever, so once you have herpes, you have it for life.
Yeah, there you go. All right. This other story is really interesting, too. So talk about mutant genes and mutant genetic changing to actually be beneficial.
Yeah, so this is another interesting story, and we've talked about how amazing genetic technology is and how generally we're thinking about genetic tests to identify people who are predisposed to disease such as cancer or heart disease. And a very good example is Angelina Jolie, who several months ago reported that she'd had the gene for susceptibility to breast cancer and underwent a mastectomy. And so,
right.
So this is coming into play. So these researchers said, let's look at people that have mutants that should give them diseases. And for whatever reason, they identified a number of people that don't get the disease. So you might have the gene for, say, cystic fibrosis, but you don't get the disease. And it's kind of a different way to look at the problem, and I think it's very promising because it really might give insight into how to counteract the disease or develop new therapies for common diseases. So it's pretty exciting and a different way to look at the problem.
Yeah, so something might mutate to block it, and then you can then take that and then use that information going forward. It's really interesting
Absolutely,
stuff.
to develop a new drug.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. Dr. Bradley Freeman, great stuff. Really interesting.
Really interesting.
A little bit of future and a little bit of history today. Dr. Bradley Freeman, professor at Washington University Medical School. Doctor, have a good week. Thanks.
Hey, have a great day.
You got it. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah.